So what you're watching on screen now is currently probably the most overtuned weapon in all of the first Descendant. This is an LMG that is a rare quality that does some absurd damage. Currently my LMG has over 300,000 DPS and I barely even upgraded it. This LMG has carried me through the entire game starting from the desert, and honestly I wouldn't be surprised if it get nerfed in the next couple of weeks. It has over a 100 round magazine, really high rate of fire, and the accuracy as well as the recoil is actually pretty insane considering how many rounds you're getting out in a couple of seconds. I'm going to show you exactly how I make my build. Let's dive right into this video. So before I can even talk about the build, let's go over where you can actually find this beast of a weapon. And starting at the Agna Desert, you're going to come basically up to this one right here. The battlefield mission abandoned reconstruction site has it as a option called the Tamer general round. Then you have a 50% chance to farm this or find it. This is one of the weapons I would highly recommend you get the moment you get to Agna because it is super amazing. Now one thing that's super important before we dive into the build is the weapon and the modifiers that you want on the weapon. So you're going to be able to continuously upgrade it. Mine's actually rolled with 3 legendary base stats when I got it, and as I continue to use it through pretty much the desert all the way to the end game, the stats actually start to scale off. So just keep in mind if you're going to be getting your weapon from the desert that it will be weak once you get to the end game, even when you upgrade it and keep upgrading it. So that's something really important. The other thing that's really important is some of the substats that you should be looking for on this weapon. So currently, ideally, I have 3 out of the 4 stats that you generally want. Right now I have firearm crit hit damage, which is excellent. You want to get the higher rolls if you can. Firearm crit hit rate as well as firearm attack. I got lucky and got a ultimate version, so really good. The only other thing that is actually good in my opinion here is the weak point damage. I don't have weak point damage. I'm still rolling on this, but as of now, so those are the substats that I think you should be looking for if you're readjusting your weapon to get it to my DPS, which is 168,000 base DPS. So now let's go over the actual build and let's talk about the different parts of the build. Currently, I only have my Tamer at 318,000 damage. This is relatively low if I'm being honest. There's so much more room for improvements. I'm actually working on some catalyst crystallization, whatever they're called, to actually put some modifiers on this. So just keep that in mind. This is actually relatively low to what you can actually build this. I think I can get this over to like 600,000 damage when I fully mod it out. Let's quickly go over the different mods and maybe some other options that you want. So first things first, let's talk about my ultimate mod, and this is called Firing Fiesta. This is a really good mod. What this does is whenever you reload, rounds are not consumed for 3 seconds after that reload. You'll notice sometimes in my gameplay I'll shoot 1 bullet, super buff up, and then reload that 1 bullet and then start shooting, and that's going to give you 3 rounds of a lot of damage. I think this is one of the better mods to actually get if you have like 3 or 4 or 5 slots still kind of lingering like I do currently, and this is going to help your damage go up quite a bit in my opinion. This is a great option, definitely something to consider. On the other hand, for another ultimate mod, this is actually pretty good. Mental focus. When you're firing, you will gain more firearm attack over the duration as long as you don't reload. If you have someone like Glay, you can absolutely use this really easy. I know she can like do something with reloading and not needing to reload. These are 2 options that I think you should consider when you're like possibly using this weapon. Next, we're going to talk about the concentration or better concentration. What this does is give firearm crit damage. Crit damage is weighed super hard in the DPS meter, so just keep that in mind. Super good. Next, we have Adventurer. I'm not 100% sure I want to use Adventurer. I'm looking for other things, but this one gives a ton of crit hit rate and a little bit of weak point damage, so a pretty decent okay mod to go with. Next, we're using Rifling Reinforcement. This one is pretty straightforward. You have firearm attack, you get 23%. You get up to more if you like upgrade it, but we haven't fully upgraded, so this one actually gives a ton of damage. We also use Concentration Priority. What this does is give me a ton of crit damage, but the reload time is really long. For the LMG, it's not that big because I have 100 rounds, so it's not too bad, but this is something you kind of have to balance out whenever you're like building this build. The other option is called Fatal Critical. This one can actually be swapped out with that one, so if you want just more crit and crit damage and you don't want super heavy crit damage, then you can do this one, but personally I like Concentration Priority. Finally, at the top we have the Firearm Crit Hit Rate from Better Insight. This one gives almost 40% crit, a very straightforward mod, ton of crit, really good. And you'll notice the thing with this build, crit damage, ton of crit damage. It's just stacking crit damage, and it's actually really good versus bosses. Finally, we do have rapid insight, and this one gives you rate of fire and crit hit rate. I'm not 100% sold on this one just yet, but I love the fire rate, which is really nice. We're probably going to change to another one in the future that gives crit damage and fire rate, but I will keep you posted if I do change to that one, because that may be slightly better. Once again, other options to consider is sharpshooter. This one's actually a really great one that could work out to give you a lot of extra damage. I like fatal critical. This is one I mentioned a second ago that gives you a lot of crit and crit damage. That one's decent. Commando marksmanship is also another great option because it gives you crit as well as fire attack, so another great options. And then finally, you can go with insight support ammo, because again, it's going to give crit and a ton of rounds per mag, so that can like give you extra DPS, because again, the reload does kind of hurt if you're using concentration priority, but that is my like build. Last thing to mention, whenever you're fighting void intercept bosses, what you're going to realistically do a lot of times is add toxic, add electric, fire, or chill whenever you're swapping it in. So right now, until I get my next mod, my crystallization catalyst, I take that out and I'll put this in. This is actually really big, so you should do that. So for me currently, I'll do something like electric if I'm about to do an electric boss, and then put firing fiesta, and this will cap out my mod slots. And this is actually really good for like just facing off against an electric mob. So just make sure you're always using a enhancement whenever you're facing the void bosses, because it may not seem like it, but this is actually weighed really hard. So that is pretty much the end of the video for my build. Not trying to waste too much time, I'm going to pretty much have the video playing facing off against every single one of the normal bosses, so you can check out how I play and how the weapon performs. Keep in mind, I can't face the hangman because it forced me to play with people, and I kind of want to just do it solo. So we actually stop at the poison guy, the poison walker guy, whatever his name is. If you like this video, don't forget to like as well as sub to the channel. I will be live streaming every single day over on Twitch. That's linked down in the description. And just like that, I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.